ask you a question?
The hell you got to ask me? Mr. Stawicki, the one you got the questions for.
How come you ain't never liked me?
Like you? Who the hell said I got to like you? What law is there say I got to like you? Want to stand up in front of my face and ask a damn fool-ass question like that? Talking about liking somebody. Come here, boy, when I talk to you. Straighten up, goddammit. I asked you a question. What law is there say I got to like you?
None.
All right, then. Don't you eat every day? Answer me when I talk to you. Don't you eat every day?
Yeah.
Nigga, as long as you in my house, you put a sir on the end of it when you talk to me.
Yes, sir.
You eat every day.
Yes, sir.
Got a roof over your head.
Yes, sir.
Got clothes on your back.
Yes, sir.
Why you think that is?
Because of you?
Hell, I know it's because of me, but why do you think that is?
Because you like me?
Like you. I go out of here every morning. I bust my butt putting up with them crackers every day because I like you. You're about the biggest fool I ever saw. It's my job. It's my responsibility. A man is supposed to take care of his family. You live in my house, fill your belly with my food, put your behind on my bed because you're my son. Not because I like you, because it's my duty to take care of you. I owe a responsibility to you. Now, let's get this straight right here and now before I go along any further. I ain't got to like you. Mr. Rand don't give me my money come payday because he like me. He give it to me because he owe me. Now, I don't give you everything I got to give you. I give you your life. Me and your mama worked that out between us, and liking your black ass wasn't part of the bargain. Now, don't you go through life worrying about whether somebody like you or not. You best be making sure they're doing right by you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Then get the hell out of my face and get on down to that A&P.
Welcome to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. I am your host, Jay Lex. Please like, share, and subscribe the content. Thank you for helping me grow this platform out. Let's get into it today. Today's topic: the world doesn't owe you anything. I saw the late and great Kevin Samuels talk about this once on his show. I forget who he was speaking with, and he basically told this woman, I believe it was a woman, that the world doesn't owe you understanding. And I like to just kind of go along with that theme and say that the world doesn't owe you anything. Other than basic human rights, the world doesn't owe you anything. It really doesn't. The world is going to spin, on its axis and all that other stuff. It's going to just be here, and you'll be born, you'll live your life, and you'll die, and the world will still continue to turn. There will still be corruption in the world. There will still be poverty, unfortunately. Some of it is done on purpose. Some of it, unfortunately, just parts of the world are extremely corrupt, and there's nothing that really can be done at this point. A lot of those places, all those quote-unquote underdeveloped countries, or what they call third world, are held down on purpose for natural resources. Example, Haiti, which is rich in natural resources, but it seems everybody's getting their cut except for the Haitian people, unless you're a politician. But there's also has to be an understanding that you are not owed anything in this life. All I hear about, especially from people of color, and I hate to do this, is complaining about what happened in yesteryear. And my response to it is always the same. What are you doing to get your cut? What are you doing to get your cut? Because that's all that matters at the end of the day. Getting your cut. Like I said, other than basic human rights, which in good portions of the world, people don't even have. Here in the States, for all the issues that we have in this country, at the very least, I know social media tries to shut some people down. They try to say it's for your protection. It's a First Amendment rights issue, but it is what it is. They're either public utility or they're considered a private company, whatever. I'm not going to get into all that right now. The reality is, however, in most parts of the world, China being an example, you go out and speak out against the Chinese government, you might come up missing, or you probably will, or Russia, or someplace like that. I've said this before. You think people defect from a place that they've known their entire lives because they all of a sudden want this new challenge? Okay, both my parents immigrated from Haiti. Well, in their, my father was in his 30s. My mother was in her 20s. You think you do that because you just want to move to New York? To cold ass New York? Where the weather is shitty for 9 months out of the year? 8, 9 months? You do it because you've been left with little to no options. In the current place that you are. My father was a notary public in Haiti. Had money sold for him by the Haitian police. I forget their names now. I forget what their names were back in the day. It's escaping me right now. But you think that man came at 30 some odd years old to the States after living his entire life in Haiti because he was like, oh, I need to change the scenery. No, he did it because people basically have no rights there. They still don't to a certain extent. It's still under a dictatorship. I won't get into all the rest of the history with the Clintons and blah, blah, blah. That's another story for another day. And you think this is going to stop? Why? Because there's social media now? You see who's in the White House. You see all the politicians, the same ones from 40 years ago for the most part. You got a couple new people in there, the AOCs of the world. So tell me what she's done for the Bronx. The world owes you diddly squat. The reality is you have to do what's best for you in your particular situation. We have to stop pretending like somehow things are going to change because there's more information out there. They're not, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, it's gotten worse. And it's gotten worse in your face. In real time. Have we forgotten the lockdowns? Unnecessary in my humble estimation? Have we forgotten that a bunch of people basically left the big cities because they couldn't leave their apartments? Hell, they're still promoting that. They're still promoting that, I'll say. You think it's going to change? There are certain things that you can't say on social media or you'll get banned. There are certain things that out here, understand something. The world does not care about you. It never has. I see all these people who work for like different tech companies and things along those lines. I hear all the phrases that are out there to make people feel better about themselves. Women's empowerment. Not to say that we shouldn't empower women to get into more positions as long as they have the credentials and they have the experience to do so. Women's empowerment. We want more inclusion. Another catchphrase. Everything should be inclusive. We should feel like a family. Work-life balance. You know how many companies put that thing out there just so they can hire people? I've lived a little bit. I've worked at different places. And at the end of the day, they don't care about me. They care about their finances. And I'm okay with that. I'm personally okay with that. Once again, we cannot allow emotions to blind us from what's in front of us. Work-life balance. I know plenty of jobs that say that, and then you know what ends up happening? All these people who have work-life balance, who work from home now, work more hours than they did before. Where's the work-life balance? Well, because you're doing it at your office desk, or the office in your house versus the office in whatever particular city you're in or near. They don't care about you, but at the same time, they don't owe you anything. You don't have to like everybody. You don't have to get along with everybody. As long as those checks don't bounce, it's ultimately irrelevant what those people, it's ultimately irrelevant what your relationship is with that person. I brought up the lockdowns before. I was employed at a certain place, I won't say where, a couple years ago. Lockdowns came, boss said, look, we're going to furlough you for, I thought it was going to be like 3 months, because I didn't believe the whole 2 week to slow the spread thing. That was utter nonsense. Anybody who studied basic science understands that was not the case. So I thought, okay, you know what? Next 3 months, I figured somewhere maybe June, July, because I think it was March 2020 when I got furloughed. And I said, all right, you know what? 3 months. It sucked because I couldn't go anywhere. I think it's the only part that really annoyed me is I couldn't really go anywhere. So basically, the gyms were on lockdown. I've already complained. I've already talked to y'all about that. So I said, you know what? I'm spending some time with my wife. We're going to hang out. We'll do some walks, things of that nature. The weather was starting to change over, so it was like March into April. It's still a little cold, but whatever. We threw some layers on. We went to this place. We went to that place. We walked. We were outside. Great. I've never had this time off really as an adult unless I went on vacation or something like that, but it was never extended beyond like a week, maybe 2 tops. But just chilled. Didn't have to think about work. Didn't have to think about any of that stuff. Fine. Lockdown continued. So we're going into like August. Now I'm about to lose my health insurance. I said, all right, let me pay for the health insurance, at least for 1 month. I barely ever used it. It wasn't even a good insurance, but whatever. I go into the office. This has to have been like August. I go into the office. I say hello. I give them the check. The next month, I'm like, I'm not going to use this BS anyway. I get rid of it. So I saw my boss then for about 2 minutes because he was in the middle of working with patients. Cool, great. Hey, how are you? Hope all is well. I go, that was what, August 2020? We're in now what, September? I have not spoken to that man. He's not texted me. Not even like on a birthday or anything like that. Like none of it. And I'm not trying to sit here and complain to you because I don't really care. But I always understood, even though I went to holiday parties, even though I would get him, sometimes we'd get presents for each other like during the holidays and everything like that. I understood that ultimately I am the employee, he is the employer. And I respected it. A lot of people today are under some false impression that because you work for a corporate or something along those lines, that you are family. This is your family. Remember when Joe Rogan was going through his whole thing and the people at Spotify wanted to mess up that $100 million deal? The people who worked there, not the higher-ups, the people who worked there. Because they weren't happy with some of the things that he was saying as it pertained to like all the lockdowns and everything along those lines and having to force people to take a vaccine or whatever the case might be. Remember all that noise that came out? CNN went after him. MSNBC went after him. Oh, he's a Republican, blah, blah, blah. Those people wanted final rights. This is his show. He simply licensed the show to Spotify. They came in and they were like, we want final editing rights to the show. And finally, the higher ups at Spotify said, yo, done. We're not a family. We are the employers. You are the employee. Once again, the world owes you nothing. If you work for somebody, they must pay you. That's it. You have to follow they have to follow some rules that have been set, some court rules that have been set. You have to follow the same rules, no harassment, etc. They pay you a check weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. You show up on time, you do whatever job you got to do, and then you go home. But if that employer fires you tomorrow, barring it was done, in a mischievous way, that employer doesn't owe you anything. Not owed anything in this world. Nobody owes you diddly squat. And yet there's a lot of people out here who are under some false impression that they are owed something. What did I see the other day? I'm not into celebrity things, but I saw that, I guess, Cam Newton's baby mama is suing him for a $20,000, I think it was like utility bill. I don't really care about celebrities, but I ask, what are you spending 20 grand on for utilities? What utility bill? Cam Newton, I guess they had a few children together, respect to the children. Cam Newton owes money to take care of those children. He does not owe an ex-girlfriend. That's why you're an ex. You're no longer together, for whatever the reason was. That man doesn't owe you money. He doesn't owe you his time. He doesn't owe you understanding. He has to be respectful for the children that you had together. But he doesn't owe you a lifestyle. This is one of these many things that I never understood. You're not owed anything. If you're not with somebody anymore, you settle on a number and you keep it moving. Once you've wasted that money, well, you have nothing else to talk about. All that money you were bringing in, you didn't invest in something, you didn't build a business, you didn't do something for yourself. The world does not care about you. The world does not care that you had trauma in your past. You had trauma in your past. Go seek a professional help. You don't want to do that? Okay, well, I don't need to understand what you went through. I can if I want to, but if I don't want to, I don't owe you that. We've all been through some bull. All been through some nonsense in this life. That's why they say life is hard. All these people out here who I'm going to use black people as an example again. All these people out here who want reparations for slavery that they never went through. You think if the government's going to give you a check because of trauma that happened that you were never a part of? Most of you who are listening to this weren't even part of the civil rights movement. That includes me. I've never faced real racism before. I faced diet racism. Now, if the government comes to me and says that they want to give me a check, okay. All right. Hey, business is business. But you're not owed anything. The government is not going to. Y'all want monies for past trauma, for spiritual trauma, whatever the case might be. How you've been held down in this country, and yet you vote for the very people who are not going to give that to you, who placate to you every election season. I've had this conversation already. The game is not rigged that way. There are not nice people in politics, or in corporate America for that matter, or the streets. It's pretty much one and the same. It's just that one wears a expensive suit, resides out in Washington during the week, then goes home on the weekends and writes laws that affect your lives. It ain't no different. All the drug dealers who've been put in prison, when the biggest drug dealers in the world are in Washington, D.C., amongst other places. You guys want understanding. You think you're owed something, and you're not. The world does not care for you or your problems. There are plenty of people who are born into poverty who find themselves a way out. They understand that the world doesn't owe you anything. They understand that the world does not give a damn about you or your past. What you need to understand is how the game is played, and get your piece of the pie. You think you think the people of Haiti who were under French rule and after 1804 had to pay the French government back? I think I read it somewhere. I can't remember exactly what it is. Somewhere around $20 billion if you count like interest and inflation and all that other stuff. You think France is going to give Haiti $20 billion when they don't even have it? And they're like, oh, well, France owes us. Okay. Where do you think that money's going to go? If, let's say, France writes a $50 billion check tomorrow that goes to Haiti, you think Haiti's going to change when you have a bunch of corrupt politicians who are going to take most of that money and give it to other people in a country that has a high illiteracy rate? You think that's the smart move? You think that $20 billion is going to reform Haiti into some utopia? You got to have people there who are smart enough and not corrupt, who are going to put that money to good use. And I can tell you right now, they could give $100 trillion, and Haiti will still be in the same position. The first black republic to get its independence, being raped daily of its natural resources. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. That is the real world, ladies and gentlemen. That's unfortunately how it works. And until a lot of y'all come to that realization and understand that it is ruthless out here, I talked about life's a competition. Life is a big old competition, and sometimes you're going to get screwed the hell over. I know people who've been through it, who did nothing but be good, do things the right way, and then lose their jobs. I know people personally who's gone through it and didn't have the financial means to go and fight the case. And they had a legitimate case, but they couldn't fight it because they didn't have the money to go to court. That's the world, not just America, the world. You think all this poverty is out here by accident? Or all these people are impoverished by accident? Think all these people are living on the streets now by accident? You have to get in where you fit in, whether it's entrepreneurially or in the corporate world or wherever else. Back in the day, Tupac would talk about, how could one person be making $32 million and another one's poor? Because the world is ruthless. It is an unkind world that does not give a damn about you. And you should not give a damn about it unless it benefits you. That's one of the big issues I have with some of the arguments that are going on today. As it pertains to being owed. You're not owed anything. You're just another cog in the wheel. This earth's going to continue spinning unless a nuclear war happens or something like that. You'll be dust before you know it. Thanos will snap his fingers and you'll be dust. And then what? You think that's going to change? Go get your piece of the pie. You want reparations? I've said this before. Cool. Get the people in there who are going to vote in reparations. Why did you tell Ice Cube to basically shut up and dribble when he had a plan for Black America? He went to the Republicans. Well, we didn't want to vote for Republicans. Okay. You go to whomever it is who's going to help your situation. It's that simple. If it just happens to be what are they, rhinos? If it happens to be a rhino, cool. You're not going to have change. You're not going to create change in this world if you continue to work off of emotions. It's all got to be logical. These are not people you care about. They're not your friends, your buddy, your pals. They're just an individual who's helping you to get to to whatever particular destination you're trying to get to. That's all it is. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. They don't care. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. People are going to be people. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and everybody else can go you-know-what themselves. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Lex Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to the content. Have a great day. Bye.